Whoa, we're here. Welcome back,
back.
everybody. Oh, I showed up. You didn't think I was going to show up, did you, man?
I
You
was
didn't
not
think-
worried. Monique was a little bit worried, but I wasn't worried. So I knew you were going to make it, James.
Like, where
Totally
did
did.
James go? Oh my goodness. I was okay. So I love helping people with any problem in the entire world. And we have on Monday, this upcoming Monday, the .NET Conf Student Zone. Okay. This is a really cool event for anyone just learning .NET. And if you're here on Learn Live, this is like a great opportunity. Maybe you have a friend, maybe you have someone else. And the Student Zone, .NETconf.net, we'll drop that in the chat somewhere. We have a slide on it. We'll talk about it as well. But on Monday, it's a special learning zone. So amazing team members across all of Microsoft. It's a 5-hour or so stream. They're going to do it twice in the morning and the afternoon for around the world. But basically, you're going to be building your .NET portfolio from start to finish, and you're building these water consumption apps. And Somalia, as he was working on this app, and Katie Pimmy is like, it's like we keep getting this like error, like 504, like method doesn't exist or something on this API. And I was like, well, let me look at the API. And I was like, yeah, the API doesn't exist. I was like, there's no post, there's only a get. I was like, call up Chris. So it's cool to see the pieces come together on it. It's just really fun. So hopefully they figured that out. But I was popping back and forth. But we're here to learn live, learn about .NET MAUI.
Yes,
now,
we are.
Yeah, next week we're talking about API. So timely.
Yeah. Very, very much so. And a lot of times, though, that's exactly it. When you have a GIST, you don't have a post. You need a third pair of eyes to take a peek at it and tell you what you're doing.
You truly do. You truly do. And welcome back, everyone. If you've been joining us on this journey of learning how to build multi-platform applications with .NET MAUI for iOS, Android, Mac, and Windows, we've been on a long journey. Last week we covered what do we cover? Theming and styling and static and dynamic resources.
Yep, making everything kind of work a little bit better with all making your app look better, but putting everything in one spot so it can look better in one, so you don't have to repeat yourself in your code. So you make sure your buttons all have that nice Alice blue color, and you can just pop it in one spot. Styling. We did a lot of styling. And this week is actually probably my favorite topic of all time, because when I got hired at Xamarin over 9 years ago, I looked at it. I think we're coming up on the 10 year soon for me. I did a talk. So when I applied and I did my interview process at Xamarin, I got on a team, on a whatever call. I think I don't know what program we use. We use something with Skype, probably Skype for Business, and Link, and I got onto it. And I had to do a presentation, and I actually did a presentation on navigation for Android. Like, it's been at my heart and soul of navigation, and I did this thing. And then at Evolve 2014 or 2016, I did a talk on navigation as well. So navigation in general to me is always the heart and soul of sort of what I love. And I think this week is really cool because there's a lot of new navigation options in .NET MAUI that I'm real excited about. Yep, it's how you display the data. So how about we get right to it, James? Start talking about all the navigation and how do we actually display the pages with Shell.
That's right. And we're talking about Shell specifically because it's the default, right?
Yes.
And when you do file new, boom, you're totally good to go. Why is there a buy? What are you using? What is it? What's that buy button?
I know, this is great. I was gonna mention this before. So I upgraded my Mac to Monterey. Is that the latest and greatest?
Ventura.
And Ventura. Yeah. Either way, things kind of went downhill.
Oops.
So I spun up a virtual machine, Parallels virtual machine. Yeah. I just got it. I had to download the trial version to get everything up and running. Now, it's not that I'm too cheap to get the serial number. I have it, but I have everything running, and I was too afraid to hit that buy button and enter the serial number for it because everything's working right now. I'll do it after this, but it's like, it's working. I'm not touching it. We're going to do it. But we can see the buy button. If you want to contribute to the show, I'll hit the buy button and we can do it. But maybe at the very end, I'll enter the serial number. We can see it all work.
Oh my goodness. I love it. I love it. That's so good.
Something went wrong when I upgraded the Mac OSs. I'm not sure what happened, but we'll fix it eventually.
I like it. And hi to everyone in the chat. We got John Galloway over in the chat. We were just in a meeting, every meeting all the time, nonstop. So it's good to see him. He's going to be moderating, giving out the different links as well. Just like he's talking to Cato right now, talking about Blazor Hybrid, integrating some Blazor web views in your .NET MAUI application. We're going to do a Learn module on that at some point in the future here, and we'll kick off probably at round 2 of this thing for advanced .NET MAUI goodness. That'll be the plan at some point. So definitely check that out. Thanks, John, for being here. We love you.
So much, John.
The most. I would say literally the most.
Probably.
I haven't seen him. We were just talking yesterday. I haven't seen him in person since I think 2019 at TwitchCon.
What?
Yeah, it's been a while. I know. And then there he is. I've seen him. I have a one-on-one with him every single week. So yeah.
Yeah, I saw John a couple of weeks ago in San Diego for a conference. So
what?
He looks just like his photo here.
He does. He doesn't age. I don't know. I don't know how it happens.
Hey, John, how you doing?
Yeah, we love you. We love you. All right, let's talk about .NET Conf. .NET Conf happening November 8th through 10th. That is next week. And I do know, listen, Matt and I will be here on the 9th because we didn't plan this correctly. So we'll be not only doing stuff at .NET Conf. You and I have sessions on the 8th. I'm actually talking about Blazor Hybrid. Did you know that? I'm literally making my talk right. Yeah. No. Yeah, and 1/3 of our presentation is on navigation. Can you believe it? It's crazy. I got to write that demo today. And you have one on Azure, and I've been helping with the keynote. I'm so excited. It's going to be so amazing. It's live. It's interactive. My session, check this out. We're not only just talking about Blazor Hybrid, but Elon Lipton, who works on Blazor Hybrid, him and I are doing a talk that's going to be hybrid. I'm going to be remote. He's going to be on stage, and we're talking about hybrid. It's the most hybrid
that's meta
session ever. It's super meta. Yeah. And it's free. You could just go to the website. It's completely free. You're totally good to go. And there's a student day pre-con ahead of time. So if you're looking to get started as a student, you're in college, you're in high school, you're a career switcher, anything like that, you got to check it out. .NET YouTube, .NETconf.net. Check out the schedule. Amazing stuff from Microsoft, from the community. It's a community run event, with Microsoft. And it's really cool. So go check it out. And look at .NET Bots 3D. He's playing with the drone.
I know. I was looking at that the other day, and we have a different title slide for the actual slides for the show. And yeah, .NET Bot is kind of getting near the uncanny valley.
That's true. It's crazy. Yeah. I also heard this just like 5 seconds ago. They're going to be releasing a VS Code pet of .NET Bot. Little .NET Bot can walk around your VS Code while you're typing, which I think is so cool.
Did that happen? That's coming out?
It's coming out. I think today they're going to drop it. So check out
nice
dev2/.net. John's going to do a TikTok on it. We got a new TikTok, tiktok.com/@.net. All the things.
I'm glad that happened. I heard it was coming. I'm glad it happened.
Maybe worst.
You got to check it out. Yeah. You got to check it out. Now we have .NET. You could have like a cat before or a dog, but now you can have .NET Bot.
.NET Bot. Boom. Nice. Oh yeah. /.NET developers. That's right. Someone took .NET, so we were late on the TikTok train. Ugh, classic. Classic.
All right. So what are we going to talk about today? We've been talking about it, but we're going to talk about more flyout and tab navigations with .NET MAUI, specifically with Shell. And so go ahead, follow along with us if you want to, or otherwise just listen to us talk about it, because we're going to give you a whole lot of extra goodness when we talk about it, our experiences with it, what we think of it too. So you're going to get the Learn module plus the whole James and Matt experience along with it as we go through this. Take it afterwards. Go ahead and take it afterwards, or follow along with us as you go too.
Yeah.
So there's a URL for it. All right. So what are we going to learn today? Specifically, we're going to go through and we are going to implement tab navigation with .NET MAUI Shell. Now, I'm going to just call it Shell most of the time. I'm not going to say .NET MAUI Shell, or you can say Shell for .NET MAUI apps, but I'm just going to say Shell. We'll just leave it at that. We're going to do some tab navigation with it. But we're also going to navigate between pages within tabbed pages.
Wow.
Yeah. So a lot of these times when we're talking about navigation, we have a lot of words that describe things that actually are conceptually simple. So we're going to open up a tab page and we're going to go to different pages in that same page, tab page. See, it's just, I don't know, it's hard. A lot of words there. We're also going to do some flyout navigation too, like a little hamburger menu and a whole page flies out, like an extra sub menu flies out for you. We're going to show you how to do all of those. And we're going to actually show you how to do them in reverse because we're going to take the bottom one first and then do the tabs afterwards. How's that sound, James, for some learning objectives?
I love it.
All
I
right,
love it.
cool. So let's jump into it. So when you're planning an application, one of the things you want to plan out is how the user is going to get between the different pages of your app. So take this app, for instance.
It's beautiful.
Isn't it? It's a demo app. You can tell that for sure by how solid it looks. But anyways, it shows the moon phases of the moon, not various moons,
Ooh,
of the various phases.
And let me really quick. Do you know what tonight's? Oh my God, did you do this today? Oh, it is November 2nd. Look at that. I was gonna say, do you know what tonight's is? Because I have a Flow Automation Power Automate setup that it does the weather for all my team, and it also does the moon phase, and it is a
Nice.
waxing gibbous tonight, and that's what it is. There's an emoji for every single one, and that's what that's what this demo app is. Oh my goodness,
Yep.
amazing.
Yep, waxing gibbous. So waxing means it's coming into full, right? So we'll have full moon in a couple days.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Beautiful.
Cool.
So what are you talking about? We're planning the architecture. So this is
we're planning out the overall how the users are going to get around our app. So how do we navigate between those pages? You know what, James? This app is a full-on astronomical beauty of an app. It tells us
Cool.
when the sunrise and sunset will be.
Well,
But how do we get there? How do we get there?
I have
We
no
to figure
idea.
that out.
I have
Yeah.
no idea. It's a mystery.
Yep, and we're going to have an about page too because we grab this data. We just don't know it. We grab it from a web service. We should give that web service some credit somewhere. We should put it in an about page. We should
Yes.
have that too.
Yes.
You know, so we have to come up with a nice way that our users can go about getting information, seeing the various pages on our app in a nice way. So that's probably the very first thing, other than figuring out what your app's going to do, is figuring out how somebody's going to move across it or move around in it. So
I agree. What I usually like to do is I like to look at all the different apps that are out there, get a feel for like what, all the different things are doing, what kind of represents maybe something similar to my app, or maybe go on Dribbble or something like that and get some inspiration out there. And then, especially if I know the pages, if I don't have a designer, right? Usually a designer will tell us, but there are some standardizations, I think, in navigation, or at least what you'd put in the shell of your application. And that's what Shell helps you kind of do, which is kind of cool. So let's go.
Yeah, Shell makes it really nice. So let's talk about the flyout navigation. What is flyout navigation? And I like to think of flyout navigation as like the menu or the hamburger menu, right? You click on it and things, fly out from the side. And that's exactly it. It's a navigation where window of menus flies out from the side. And it provides really a quick means to switch context within your application. So it's like a shortcut menu, I guess is the best way to think about it. And there's a couple different parts to it too. There's a header, there's the flyout items, there's the menu items, and there's also a footer that can be all a part of this. And I think the next screen here is going to show us, where is it, James? We lost our image that was going to be on here. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Where did it go? Well, you know what?
You know what it looks like. It looks like a flyout.
Yeah, it looks like a flyout, but I want to show right here.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah. So you got the header, you got the flyout items, and you got the menu items, and you got the footer.
Perfect.
So that's generally how we're going to build it up. Or that's not generally how it gets built up. That's how it gets built up.
It's how it's happening.
Yeah. So when we build it, we use flyout items. That's a class name within the Maui shell to build up the things that actually go between the pages. So when you click on a flyout item, it brings you different places. So it's part of the app shell development paradigm. And the navigation occurs when you tap on that flyout item itself. And this is what it looks like. So it's XAML, so it can be verbose. So let's ignore the shell part of it up top, other than knowing that it has to go into a shell. But when I have the flyout item, that means it's going to come out from the side, and here it's going to be cats or dogs it's going to say, and what's inside that flyout item is what's going to actually be displayed after you tap on it. So it's all kind of hierarchical
Mm-hmm.
in a way.
I love it.
Yep.
Easy.
Easy peasy. So here is what it kind of looks like again. You got the cats, you got the dogs, and behind the scenes there I have app. That's the background app. Let's say it's running. You click on it, flies out, and then you see it.
Perfect.
Easy. All right. And then this looks like the same slide from before.
Yeah, the cool part.
It's a little bit different. It's a little bit different. Yeah, go ahead, James.
Yeah, because you know how basically what we said earlier, if you were attending some of our earlier Learn Live sessions, a lot of times what .NET MAUI will do is there's some sort of defaults for pages, right? So often like a content page will have content. Well, inherently, if you just put content in there, it knows that it's content. So you don't need to reference that. So what we saw earlier is that you can put these flyout items and shell content and tabs inside them. So you can have them more verbose, especially if you're having a flyout item that has a few tabs or other pages inside of it. And we'll get to that when we talk about tabs. But specifically here, if you just want a bunch of flyouts and a bunch of pages, you can just add pieces of shell content into here. And you can see that this has the title icon and also the data template. So the pages are lazily loaded as well, which is cool. So those two references before are the same thing. So you can do the verbose version, which is nice because if you do have tabs with multiple tabs inside of them on one of the pages for cats, maybe you have types of cats, for example, you could do that as well. But if you just want a simple flyout, this is how you would do it easily enough. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Cool. I actually prefer the verbose version because then I know what I'm getting all the time.
Of course you do.
That's me. That's me. I like to know what I'm getting. All right. So then we have, in addition to the flyout items, we have menu items that go along with it. And there's a subtle difference here, right? And so the menu items, they're not required, but they are optional, and they're represented by a menu item object. You got to distinguish them somehow. And they're similar to buttons. They don't actually lead to navigation. Rather, they lead to something happening. So it's not you're going anywhere. It does something here.
Like a setting button or an about button or something like that at the bottom, or a log in, log out button.
That's what I initially think. Yeah, sign in, sign out. It does something.
It's not a page. It's just a button.
Yeah. And actually what's cool about it, where they appear in the menu is kind of dependent upon how you declare them. I always find I throw them at the bottom. It just seems more natural there. But yeah. So honestly, to be 100% honest with you, James, I'm not sure if I ever used a menu item button. I'm trying to think of a time. I know I did, but I'm trying to think of a time of what it was for. Because I like the flyout just to be for navigation. But
yeah, well, maybe today you'll use it.
Maybe. Who knows? We'll think of a way.
We'll think of a way.
Yeah.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
Yep. And so here we go. Menu item.
Wow.
Simple. Looks a lot the same as it did before when we were doing flyout, except here we have the binding to the command. And so that help command is actually going to do something. And here it looks like it's probably going to show some help.
Nice.
For .NET MAUI.
Easy peasy.
Fundamentals of the shell. All right, then we get to the header and the footer. So really just to make things look pretty. Again, doesn't need to be there, but it helps things out. And here's what it looks like. Again, kind of exactly what you would expect. Shell that flyout header, and you could put really whatever you want in there. You could also do the lazy loading by doing the content templates if you wanted to, or you can just define everything straight inside. And then same thing with the footer. It barely looks like it even changed, but header, footer, header, footer. Yeah. So it's pretty straightforward to do. And you can do more than just an image source in there as well. Like we have a grid in here right now, and you could put text, or really you can build up a whole view if you wanted to.
Yeah, it's a lot of options. Like when you think of a flyout, if you just add the flyout items and that's it, it's going to look kind of plain in general. But once you start to add these menu items, you add the headers and footers in it, then you have this really, background stuff. You really can get pretty nicely designed. You have icons for each of them as well, so you can really specify them. And in fact, when you look at some of the defaults and the templates, you'll start to notice that you can even handle like selection change events, and you can change all sorts of things as well. So there's all sorts of different state management that you can do to make your things look really nice. So
Yeah.
definitely look into that.
Yeah, it's super, super powerful.
Hmm.
So how will we do this? How will we go through and implement some flyout navigation? This is how we'll do it. And
Let's do
what's
it.
cool is that we're going to do the flyout navigation. We're going to add some icons, and then we're going to do a flyout header.
Cool.
All
I'm
right.
taking a look here at some chat while you go over there
Sure.
and open that up. Yeah, so Zonix, we're going to talk about tabs here in a little bit, so we'll come back to that.
Yep.
Go ahead and zoom in a little bit there for me, Matt. And then I think Timebender, if you want to hop us into the chat later, we're going to be talking on Teams later, so maybe a more in-depth chat there. And I know John's talking a lot about Blazor hybrids, so that's good. We're reading the chat as they come in, and we'll try to answer them as they come in as well.
Cool.
So,
and so where all the exercises are in Microsoft Docs, mslearn.net, create multi-page apps. But instead of remembering all that, just go over to the exercise and click on exercise repo.
Short and sweet.
Short and sweet. And then we'll load up and we'll start following through with these instructions. And so I have already gone up ahead and loaded up exercise number 1.
Perfect.
And we have here just a simple .NET MAUI application with our about page, moon phase, sunrise page. And then we have app, and we have a beautiful app shell page.
Oh, that's what you were showing earlier, right?
Yes,
the moon phase.
Just shows the moon phase here. All right. So the first thing that we want to do, that's what it would look like on Android, is that we want to come through and we want to actually, well, let's set up a title for it, and then we'll move on. So what we can do is do something like this. Title, we'll just say moon, and I'm going to just jump ahead and we could do icon. We could do something like that, moon.png as well. So you have
where's that coming from? Your moon.png.
The moon.png is going to come from the resources, images. So we have all those preloaded as well. So the moon.png doesn't just exist in a file new application.
Perfect.
We had to bring that along for the ride. So pre-populated, you get some royalty-free images of the moon, a question mark, and the sun if you wanted.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Good question though, James.
Yeah, and this is kind of fascinating too. So you have the flyout menu item in here. So in the example, you could put it into the flyout item, right? Like you said, or here on the shell content, you can just specify that information.
Yep. Exactly. All right. So, and we can also, we can do the flyout icon here as well on the overall shell page had we wanted to. So actually, I'm going to pop that up there too.
Oh, you can do that?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Let's run.
Oh, so I see. So flyout icon is interesting. It's instead of the hamburger.
Yes.
Whoa.
Yes.
Oh, weird. I didn't even know you could do that. I just learned something today.
Boom. Totally worth it.
Yeah.
Totally worth it. And so, but what's interesting, James, is that does not render on Windows. It renders on iOS and Android. Yeah, but not Windows.
Yeah, probably not, because the Windows one is using sort of the newer stuff from WinUI 3. So that kind of makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so let's let this build up and deploy.
Yeah.
And then, come on. And here we go. And we see our little application pop up. And we see moon phase, and we don't necessarily have
Do you need to put it in a flyout item?
Flyout item yet. That's what we have to do. We have to put it in a flyout item to actually make it fly out.
So yeah. You know why it didn't do it? Is because there's only one piece of content.
Right.
See, we just learned something, Matt, because you didn't follow. You didn't follow.
I got ahead of myself.
Mm-hmm. So here's what
Mhm.
happened. This is a good learning opportunity. So whenever Matt makes a mistake, which he does all the time,
All the
it's a
time.
great opportunity. So the reason that we didn't see a didn't fly out menu is because there's only one piece of fly out content. Like there's only one piece of shell content. So there's
Right.
nothing to fly out, right? Like why would you
Right.
just show it if there's only one piece of content? Now, if we had multiple pieces of content, it would go ahead and do it. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, hey, .NET MAUI, please show a fly out item because we're telling you to do one now.
Yes. Yep. And so now we'll rerun it.
Mm-hmm.
And when it builds up, we will see it. Now, hot reload
We
for some
hope.
reason is not working for me today on this. I'm going to blame it on
Blame
VM.
you.
Yeah.
Oh,
Tons of
there it is.
mistakes. Yep. And you can see it up here. Comes out and it says Moonface.
Nice.
All right. So let's keep on going down. And we added the Moon Ping, but it doesn't show up on Windows because of the new WinUI stuff.
But
here
it
we
would
go.
on Android. So it's kind of
On Android and iOS, it does.
Yep.
All right. So now we want to add in some more flyout options, right? So we're going to show our sunrise and our sunset as well, or a sunrise and our about page as well, and put them in the flyout items. And what we can do is just
put them in there.
like so.
Yeah, I think this is one of my favorite features of Shell because previously, if you were doing this, then you would have to kind of start and stop. Or no, sorry, you'd have to have a flyout page, which still does exist, and then you have to have a list of items, do all this stuff. It's like quite a lot of work in general. Zonix says, can you use an icon for the flyout icon? Yeah, you can. You can use like Font Awesome and things like that as well.
Yeah.
Totally.
So here we have it. Moonface. Sunrise.
Whoa.
Which is showing UTC time for me because that's how I am. So that way the sunrise is at night.
Beautiful.
It sets in the morning. And then about. And then we can see icons from Font Awesome. And then when we actually get where we get the data from.
That's cool.
Cool.
You know, the other thing you could do too, by the way, is I don't know if we get into it, but on your shell, so go to your shell and your XAML. So here you can do, I think it's like fly out. Let's see what the IntelliSense says. Fly out behavior. Yeah, fly out behavior. And then here you could say locked. Do locked in there. And I think what that will do is it will always show it open. I'm pretty sure, like side by side. So for example, if you were on desktop or if you were on, I think this works. We're gonna test it out in real time because why not? There we go. Yeah, there you go. So this is kind of nice. So you can dynamically change that. So you could dynamically change it based on the size of the window or other things like that. And you can lock it. So you could have it like a master detail page here, basically.
Yeah.
Side by side. And that's nice if you're creating like an iPad application or something like that. And you're looking at the window size and you want it to be open to provide more context. So this gives you options in general. If you shrink it down, does it collapse automatically or is it actually like locked, I think? It's actually locked. It's locked. So you would want to dynamically change that based on some other things in general. But there's that. Yeah. Else the fly out is the default behavior. And if you don't want fly out items at all, you could disable it. But yeah, you just make fly out basically.
Yeah.
Is there. Yeah.
Cool.
So
yeah, actually,
yeah.
I really like this and we can check it with the on idiom stuff to see where you're running and then have it. Cause I really do like it when you have the more screen room, use it up.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep. And then also, I think if you put the icon on the flyout item.
Yeah, if we put the icon up here, show.
Yeah, because now we put it inside of that thing.
Yeah.
So that should actually work. Anyways,
fun
facts.
And actually, I think
we're about to do that.
Once we get down here, adding the icons, and that's where we come.
Course.
Yep. Sun, moon, and question. So let's actually
let's add
that. Yeah. Icon equals sun.png. And then this next one's going to be question.
And then let's see, literally says, how do you have a different animation for showing and displaying the flyout? I think out of the box, basically, you just use the defaults in general. So that would be what it would be there.
Mhm.
Good question from someone else. How do you get in dark mode? Well, by default, it will automatically adjust. As you can see, Matt is in light theme here.
Yes.
So it is by default in light theme. Now the background of this moon phase is set to a dark color. So all the stuff that we talked about last week, you can set the different colors and the theming automatically. But right now it's defaulting to that. So if you go to the sunrise page, that was
that was going to be
a light theme.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And so that, like you said, James, the moon phase page, it's just set, the background color is just set to dark.
Exactly.
So looks dark theme, but it's not.
But yeah, there's normal theming that you can have on it as well. So the background, you would just adjust the background colors and the text colors and things like that automatically. But I think it does it for you automatically, which is nice.
And check out last week's show as we do go through that a little bit on how to do it. So
cool. That was easy.
Yeah. And then, of course, let's set a header.
Okay.
Why not? And do we do the footer? No, we just do the header. So
just the header.
Pop it in right here. And then we're putting it into a grid.
Do a footer too.
Okay.
Just do the same thing.
Just do the same thing. We'll just say fly out footer.
Yeah.
Like so. You know what?
And then you could use, do something else on the bottom.
Yeah, let's just say, how about this? Label. Color. Oops. I'm a footer. Let's do white. And let's do text. I'm a footer. That should work, and close it off.
Yeah. I think for the hamburger icon, the flyout icon, I don't think you can change it on Windows. I think that's just the default, but it's a good question that I'll have to ask the team specifically. Like maybe that's something in .NET 7 they're adding.
I know, they are doing a lot of desktop stuff in .NET 7.
Yeah, but sometimes it's like based on the platform too, right? So for example, like that title bar, those icons might just not be customizable by WinUI 3. And if it's not, then there's really nothing you can do about it. But I'll have to ask the team and see. But there you go. Whoa, footers and headers. Boom, look at that. It's cool.
Yep.
Bam.
Yeah, super cool. I like the dark slate color. That's a nice nighttime moon setting color.
Beautiful.
Yeah. All right. Cool. We made it.
We did it.
So that's really flyouts, and that's really, it's kind of neat. You have that full functionalities, a little bit of typing because you're dealing with XAML, but other than that, it's all pretty straightforward. And I do really like the fact that you look at it and you know what you're getting.
Yeah. And then also, like I said here, we have the flyout items individually, but we wouldn't necessarily have to have those. We're just doing that here because we're going to be building out some more context in different pages as well. So, but just kind of cool.
Yep.
Yeah. Nice.
All righty.
Oh, we didn't even have any trivia on that one, huh?
No trivia. We saved that up for later to make it super duper hard.
Oh, perfect.
Yep. Yeah, no trivia for that one, but we do have some after the tab navigation. All right, James. So what is tab navigation? First, before we get it, can we appreciate the image of the clock from iOS from like 15 years ago, like iOS 3?
I think it's
keep
still
that
the
in
same.
there for
Let me look. Let me look here.
Anyways,
yeah, it's exactly the same. There's one less icon now. I don't have a bedtime one. Yeah, I don't have bedtime.
Well, that's because it's in the health app now. iOS.
The app looks exactly the same. They have not changed anything. Yeah, it's exactly the same. Amazing.
Classic.
I love tabs.
Yeah, I like tabs better than flyouts. They're more, you see them. They're right in your face.
It depends on your app, right? Because if you only have a few sections, then tabs are going to be great because they're at the bottom or at the top and area of this. But like to the question in the chat is like, what if you have like 100 sections of your app? How does that work? Well, you can add 100 different sections in there and it'll automatically scroll through all those for you automatically. So if you have lots and lots of stuff, then you should probably question yourself, what's happening in my app and why do I have so many sections? But sometimes apps do, there's definitely more complex apps. Like if I open up my like security app or whatever, there's a hamburger button and there's like a bunch of junk in there. But then they also have tabs, right? They're like, you can combine these things too. I don't know if we actually go through that in this.
We do.
Oh, okay, cool. And that's what that app does, because they're like, most of the stuff that's here, and then here we'll hide the junk over here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and good question as well. You can also add these dynamically you can do it in code behind, so you don't have to add them inside the XAML as well. So you can add those and remove those. Or sometimes people ask like, well, how do I enable or disable things based on specifically maybe I'm in admin mode or in normal user mode. How do I add or hide different sections? Well, you can make things visible or not visible, or you can add them dynamically too, based on that too. Yeah.
Yep. Cool.
Boom.
Yeah, and we talked about tabs are in your face all the time. It's kind of like when we put the flyout menu into flyout mode, where it's always sticking out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so it's pretty straightforward. Each section is represented by a tab. So
true.
by a little icon on the bottom.
That's true. Yeah, and that's going to be the case specifically for iOS and Android, but it is going to look different on desktop, because desktop tabs are a little bit different based on their platform. So one thing to know about Shell is it's sort of an opinionated way of building things. So while we're showing tabs here as like a traditional tab for mobile, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's exactly what it will do on Mac or on Windows, because inherently on those platforms, they're going to look a little bit different. And we'll see that when we run this application on Windows specifically.
Yeah. And that's one of the great things about Maui, is that it respects the paradigms of your native or the host operating system that you're running on. So you're building your app once using the XAML or using your C# code, but when you run it, it's a native app for the platform that you're running on, and it's going to respect the design paradigms that that app has.
Yeah.
So.
And if you don't want that stuff, you can always draw. There's custom controls out there. I know that there's like some really great community packages for customizing tabs and flyouts and all this other stuff too. But the box default, you get what the operating system gets you, which I think, when you looked at that iOS application, it's like, a lot of iOS applications are going to look and feel this way, because that is how Apple wants their applications to look out of the box. So how I build applications is I try to make my applications adhere to the guidelines. So when Apple updates stuff or Google updates stuff, then it updates gracefully, and users want that as well.
Exactly. I like to think that the folks who put the operating systems together put a lot of time and thought into how they act, and so I'm going to utilize their hard work to make my app build off of it.
Yeah.
So, all right. So tab navigation within a Maui app. So at the bottom, you have the tabs. Use a tab bar object to hold everything, and then click on it, and it displays the content at the top. Tab bar object holds it. A tab bar, or a tab within that tab bar, moves things around.
Yes.
Makes sense. Like I said, there's a lot of words here, but it makes sense when you see it. A lot of words for a conceptually simple topic. All right. And here's how one would do it. Looks a lot like the flyouts, doesn't it? You would have except different words, tab bar. Within that, you have tabs, and within the tab, you can put a shell content item for what you want to have displayed. So here, you just have this would display moons and sunrises across the bottom of the screen, or the top, depending on your operating system you happen to be running on.
Cool.
All right. And then, as you alluded to before, James, we can do tabs within a flyout menu.
Yeah, why not?
Yep. So flyout menu opens up one page with a tab bar that can display one or more tabs. And maybe this is a way that if you had a million different things to do, million different things to display, you can kind of organize them that way. You can have a flyout menu, and then you can have a page with a ton of tabs and different flyout menu. So, but anyways, flyout menu, add multiple shell content items for each tab you want to have displayed. And then within that. So here kind of shows how it's done. You had the first flyout menu with 2 tabs within it, and that second flyout menu would just be displaying 1.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, you can also put a tab bar inside of here. By default, what Shell tries to do is tries to be smart about it and say, hey, if you have 2 pieces of Shell content, the only way I can show those are in tabs, right? In general, which is quite nice. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So they have another shortcut that was happening without the tab bar and tab that James was just mentioning. All right. So here we go. The knowledge check.
Knowledge
trivia.
check. It's time to check your knowledge.
All right. So go ahead and vote for this at AKAMS/polls. And gosh, this is an opinionated question. This is pretty subjective. When is tab navigation a good choice for an app?
Says, yeah, so you only have a few pages in your app and the pages all have equal importance. That's interesting. The app's pages tend to be traversed from general to more specific. I don't even know what that means. The app's pages require extensive scrolling. That one's my pick. I pick C.
See, I know what they're getting at with B.
Mm.
B is you have a list view,
You're
like a
drilling
list
down.
of planets. You click on Saturn and you see Saturn's details. That's what B has to be, right?
Yeah,
General to
Mhm.
more specific.
I think so.
Yeah, can't be B either.
Yeah.
Must be A,
It's
right?
got to be A. Mhm.
Has to be A. Boom.
Boom.
All right.
Nice.
Good.
Yeah, it makes sense. If you want to have tabs, you only have a few pages. You want to put them in tabs, and boom, they're good there. And I don't actually know if they need to be equal importance. However, I do think that is good, right? Because sometimes people will like add a tab for about or for a settings page. I actually think that's
Mhm.
not a great practice at all. Like a lot of times, what you'll see is on your home page, you might see a little settings icon or an image of yourself now, and then that goes into the settings page, right? Because it's not really equal importance, right? I think when you look at those, tabs that are there, you're like, okay, I'm probably want to go into each of these tabs in general, right? Now you may say that these are equal. So when I open my security app, there's a explore tab, which is telling me to buy more stuff. Now to me, that's not very important. Actually, the devices and the events, there's only like two things, or there's like three of these things that are important. So to me, they could hide these, in my opinion. But to them, they want to sell more stuff, so they put it on a tab because it's there. I do click on it more because it's on a tab, right? So so in general, right, like that's there. Yeah.
And I think a good way to think about it, as you mentioned, maybe not equal importance, but the pages are conceptually distinct. So like with your security app, like you have the feeds coming from the cameras. Well, the feed or the page to buy the camera is really, it's a distinct conceptual switch between them. So maybe that's what is a good way to think about it.
And I think the key here is you only have a few key pages or sections of your application. I should really say sections, but pages is the same as a section, right? Because if you can have a lot of pages, you can drill down into it, but in general, it's like I have a few sections of my app where those sections have equal importance. So,
yep. Cool. And that's when tab navigation would be a good choice. All right, so let's implement some tab navigation. And we're going to add a tab bar, combine some tab pages with a flyout. For some reason, if you need some help, that's covered in here too.
I always need help. Good questions from the chat as well while you boot that up. Tabs are always at the bottom, or will it be at the top in Android per Android default design? Actually, Android default designs are at the bottom now automatically. Tops are more for sorting data or sections, usually on iOS and Android, like a segmented control. But what they do is Shell will automatically on iOS and Android add them at the bottom. On Windows and Mac, they're actually at the top for tabs, and they have drill down menus. And we'll see that as we go through it, because they are a little bit different on Windows because it's the default, is whatever the system picks up there. One thing we didn't talk about, I don't know if we're doing in the next section, is you can have tabs inside of tabs. And on that, for example, then you'd have the main categories on the bottom and then tabs on top too. So you could have that as a good reference, and that's really popular. We might have a let's say, actually it's actually in my security app. I just have it open all the time apparently. But for example, on the security tab, there's modes and then automation. So it's like it's a list of devices, and it says you can switch between modes and automation. So it kind of like does different things basically inside the app, and those would be two tabs inside of it. So you'd have a tab with two pieces of Shell content inside of it, which means that it's one tab with two things, which will then create two new tabs at the top. Woo! Amazing.
Yes. Tabs upon tabs.
Tabs on tabs on tabs.
Tabs and tabs and tabs. All right.
Are we just
so
going to
let's do
update
some
this
tabs.
existing one to just change it to
Yeah,
tabs?
we're just going to take this existing one and move it into tabs.
Nice.
Yeah, pretty easy.
Yeah, I like
So
that.
what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually take this and just comment it out because I know I'm going to need it later. So we're just going to say
okay.
it's commented out. That way I don't have to be typing.
Yeah, just do
And
it.
I'm going to go through and delete.
Literally, it's asking me what's my security app. I use Eufy Security. It's like they're owned by Anchor, not sponsored.
Not sponsored.
No, that's so there's no subscription fee, so I'm a big fan of that. So
nice. So here we go.
You have a tab bar with one tab in it,
and it's just saying one thing. So actually, what this is going to do is just going to show us the page.
Yeah,
it's kind of like the same thing where we saw before with the flyout with nothing in it. It just kind of here's a page. It's kind of just I'm not even going to run it because that's all it's going to show us is just a page. You can trust us here. But now let's give it a title and our icon again. So let's start building it up, and we do that within the tab, not within the shell content. Because sometimes when I'm actually building these for real, I do get a little bit, I always want to put them into the shell content and not within the tab for some reason. But yeah, put them in the tab. So we'll put this one title, a moon, and then the icon being moon.png.
Yeah, I think what's really cool here is, as you kind of saw earlier with the flyout menu, you could easily change your application without having to add new pages, without having to change your infrastructure. Like, we're literally going to change the existing application to an app that has tabs from flyout, and we're not really adjusting any other bits of code, right? You're just like changing 10 lines of code, which I think is really nice.
Yep. Exactly. And now we'll go through and we'll just add another one for sunrise. Pop it in here, pop it right below. I'll make it a little more room. And so really much same thing, except we're calling out to the sunrise page. And let's actually run it now.
Amazing. I'm actually interested to see what it looks like on Windows, to be honest with you. I forget. It's been a while.
Well, you're going to see it in 3, 2, 1. That's pretty close.
There we go.
We have a tab all across the top.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then make it a little bit smaller and hit sunrise. And then it shows. And so you see the indicator is a little bar. Whereas iOS or Android has it kind of changes the tab
color. Now you can note that you still have that flyout because you've set the flyout behavior to be flyout.
Yes.
And what happens when you actually tap on it? There's nothing because there are no flyout items. So you want to disable that, which I think is the default. Had you, but we set it there. So if people were wondering what just happened,
now if we had actual flyout stuff,
it would be in there.
It would be in there. So I mean, so shell's actually kind of if a lot of words again. So if I didn't have flyout behavior specified at all, and just had tab bar here, it would automatically go to disable.
Yeah, it would,
because there wasn't any flyouts. So, but because we had it there, we said, you know what, shell, don't mind what you see, mind what I tell you, and put a flyout there, even though I didn't declare anything.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm going to put it back out to flyout because eventually we are going to build another flyout in here. All right. So there we go. All righty. So what else do we have that we want to do here? All right. We ran the app. We saw how it looked.
And this is what it would look like on Android.
Boom. Yep. They would have the right down there. You can see how it kind of highlights and disables depending on what tab you happen to be on. And now we are going to add some flyouts. Nice. So what we're going to do is we're going to delete the overall tab bar, and then we're going to start putting this stuff into what we just created into a flyout menu itself. So what I'm going to do here is get rid of that, all my hard work.
Boom.
Paste that in. So this should be very similar to before. Flyout menu, name's a little bit different instead of moon, but we now have a moon icon, says astronomy. But here you notice that we have shell content saying moon phase, and we're also giving it a moon PNG there because we're going to build the tab bar within this flyout item.
Got it.
And I'll just do that right away. Grab over this Sunrise one.
Boom.
There we go. And the same thing. It says Sunrise has a sun NG.
So I think what we're really showing here is the flexibility of what Shell brings to the table, right? You don't have to use the default implementations of Shell. You don't even have to use Shell at all. I use it. You can just have a piece of content and then do the rest and take advantage of the normal navigation, right? So a good question from the chat is like, can you customize this tab bar? Can you do floating things and all that other stuff? And the answer is you can, just not with the default implementation of Shell. You could override it, but you could also then take a look at maybe like Sharpnado, which is like a really cool community package for tabs that does all sorts of crazy customization. So that's the power of .NET MAUI, is the community behind it, right? What .NET MAUI will bring to the table is it will do the right things. When we add 2 pieces of flyout items and 2 pieces of things here, it's going to do the right things based on the default implementation, or as close as it can on the different operating systems.
Yep.
Whereas it won't be able to do that if you want to do something crazy that's not built in. Like if Apple, Google, and Microsoft and everyone else gave us floating Sentry things in there, then yeah, you would do that. Else the team would have to create something special or unique, which is where a third-party package comes in, more than anything. Yeah.
Right.
So what did you do here? What happened? You just had another.
All right. I just pasted this highlighted part in.
Okay.
The title and the question mark, and it just says about page. So we're going to put an about page in, but notice that it's in its own flyout item.
Wow.
So I have 2 flyout items, one that says astronomy and one that says about. In the astronomy one, I have 2 shell content items. In the about one, I only have 1. Perfect. So reading it out, what happens, I have 2 flyout items. One's going to have a tab bar in it. One's not. And once this runs, we'll see it work. You ever notice, James, a lot of these technical demos are kind of like a magic show where I'm going to do something, and now here's the rabbit out of my hat. All right, first flyout item, two tabs, moon phase, sun. Now we have the about, and that brings it up. Pretty cool.
Beautiful.
And what's awesome about it is that it really isn't a lot of work to get it, working exactly, tune it up exactly the way you want it, want it to go. All right, and if you need help, this is the whole thing for you.
Okay.
Right down here. Yeah, that's where the need help comes from.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. We have a nice little application that generates all these slides for us based off the Learn module. And this just picks up headers.
Yeah. So, but then we clean them up. So we add all the images and
we do
stuff.
Yeah. We make them more interesting for folks. All right. So this is the most fun part that I like the most, James, is that we're going to start using a navigation stack within our tab pages. And actually, I think this is probably where most apps go, whether you're within a tab page or not. I find that you're going to be using a navigation stack the most to navigate within your apps.
Yep.
All right. So flyout pages and tab pages, I mean, they're just 2 ways to do navigation, and each page there is really distinct and stands alone. They're conceptually different for each page for flyout and tab navigations. But stack navigation really has oriented towards the relationships between the pages. So in our whole astronomy app, if we had a stack layout, you would say, all right, different planets. I click on Jupiter or I click on Mercury, and I could see details about that planet then on the next page that like slides in or appears. So relationship between that pages. Or in James's security app, maybe he has a page listing out his 75 cameras that he has around his house, and then you can click on that and then see the feed.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you do. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And the thing about a navigation stack, whether you're using flyout navigation, tabs, or no navigation, right? Maybe just have a content page, which is where we started. Then this navigation stack is what you would use to be navigating across all of your application. Yeah. And yes, he is using a Windows VM, which is why it's a little bit slower, because he was having some problems with his Mac. So that's why. Yeah. It's a Windows VM on a Mac. So
it's a Windows VM on a Mac. And you know what? It's not actually working too bad. I don't mind it at all. I have a whole new Windows machine too, but it's not set up yet either. And there's a whole reason behind that. And it's because it's ARM. But anyways, it's cool. I like that machine as well. Anyways, actually, I really love that machine. All right. So navigate with stack navigation. All right. This is awesome, James. This is my favorite part of .NET MAUI Shell. This right here. The URI navigation.
Mhm.
You use routes just like you would in web navigation. Like it's a
Yes.
query string. And then it just works, right? You use a query string. You say, all right, I'm going to go to this page and here's the data I'm going to send to it. And then you go, oh my gosh, you get a whole bunch of things. You get like a back button behavior. You have like a current item, you have current page, you got current state, and you have current or type of shell. Got a lot of different things that you can
Nice.
play with too. That kind of gets into the weeds a little bit that we won't get into. But the point is, with all of these, is that you can tell in code exactly where you happen to be on any given set. So within your whole navigation stack, a lot of times in your code, like you might not know in your view model, like exactly how the navigation stack looks. But with current page and current item and overall current, the very bottom bullet, you can tell where you are. You can figure it out. So
Yeah.
that's what this is all getting at.
If you need to. Often you don't,
Right.
but if you need to do something special, you have access basically
Yeah.
to all of it. Is kind of what we're
Exactly.
talking about here.
Exactly. All right, so let's talk about the routing, the URI-based routing.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
a route defines a path to the content. So it's just saying, you know what, cool planet page, we're going to name that. And it defines how to get there. So it's most of the time it's just going to say cool planet page, and it's going to be a top level route. So just a name. Essentially, we're naming the page. And then pages right here. That's all it's saying. We're going to name the page, and it's going to correspond back to the page, and then we can push them onto the stack by using that name. And then we can send data to it with query parameters. And that's my ultimate favorite thing there.
You're my ultimate favorite thing.
Well,
So-
yeah, but I'm not built into the shell.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah.
Gotcha.
It'd be pretty cool though if my little face was an icon. We would have the .NET SVG and
It
then
could
Mat
be.
SVG. Yeah.
It
We'll
could
have
be.
to ask the team if they can do that for next week's .NET 7 rollout. Anyway, so here's how you would define it. You can say, all right, for each different item, you can say this is the route to get there. So in order to get to the moon phase page, I'm going to say, you know what? The route to get there is going to be moon phase. I'm going to refer to, whenever I want to get there somehow, I'm going to refer to it as moon phase or sunrise or about. So I can set that all up in XAML.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm somewhere within my whole navigation stack and I need to pop up for some reason, like I have it on a button, like a regular button page that's not built in as part of the navigation stack. Because a lot of times you'll have a back button that's built in part of the
OS.
navigation
Mhm.
operating system, exactly. But you have a different button. You have like a confirm, like OK button. You can have on that handler just say shell go to current or current go to async. You can do ... which brings you back up one page. It kind of pushes you back once in the stack.
Yeah, this is kind of familiar if you're just like thinking about how you would navigate. I like ... because it's kind of similar to command line, right? You
Mhm.
can also do ... /... and that'll go back 2 pages. Fun fact.
Yep.
Or you could do ... moon, and it would go back a page, and then it would go to moon.
Amazing.
Amazing.
And then here is how we would get to it. So let's say we have a new page that's called astronomical body details. So we registered that with our route from before. So we had a page and we called route equals astronomical body details. What we have then, a property in that page called body name. Now we'll get to how that's defined in a second, but let's just say there's a property in there called body name. And then we can pass data that will automatically bind to that property.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty cool. So celestial name, which is that string up above, bind to it and go. So when that astronomical body details page gets displayed, that body name property will have the value moon automatically in there.
Yeah.
And that's actually really powerful.
I also want to mention one thing here too, is that a lot of people ask, okay, well, what if I need to pass complex data? Now, that's something that we're not covering in this module. However, it's totally supported. In fact, you could say go to async and just say astronomical body details, and then you could pass it a dictionary of string object. So you could have, phase object and then pass it the entire object and pass that across. And the rest of what we're going to talk about, how you actually bind to those and how they get set, is exactly the same. So by default, it's just string navigation similar to the internet, but you could also pass it complex data as well. And that's 100% supported. And that's a brand new feature that was introduced at the launch of .NET MAUI, which is, again, one of my more favorite features of Shell, because often if I'm on the first page, I might have the full object. I don't want to do a bunch of different things across. So say, hey, I know I'm going to this page, just put it in memory for a second, pass it across the wire, or go there. The other option, though, is you could support multiple things, because what if, for example, you were deep linking into this page, you don't have that object. You could still have like an ID, for example, and then you could then do the lookup to say, oh, okay, they didn't pass me the object, they passed me the ID via the URL navigation, and then bingo, bango, you're totally good to go.
Bingo, bango. Next slide. And this is how we actually do the binding to that body name that we get in. So the first off is that we're going to want to we're going to decorate with a attribute on the whole class.
Yes.
And it's going to be called query property.
Yes.
And then we say name of. Well, that's the property that we have down below, astroname. So we say query property, name of. Expect a query string coming in with body name. Once you see that, put that value into the astroname property.
Yes.
Yes. I have to look this up every time I do it.
What I do is I just make them exactly the same. So I do name of, and then it's like no big deal, because then it automatically gets set 100% inside of there. Now, additionally, some people say, hey, James, hey, Matt, what if I'm doing MVVM? I have a little bit of data binding, I have view models. How does that work? And that's a fantastical question. How this actually works is that you can put these query properties directly onto your view model. And what .NET MAUI will do is it will trickle it down. It'll first look to see, are there query properties on the page? And if so, then set them there. Or is there a view model or a binding context set to this? And if so, are there query properties on that? So it will automatically bind those into your view model as well, which is quite nice. A good question is there a get query string? I'm not sure. There are a new on navigating 2, which does do parameters, and it might actually pass those in. I'd have to look that up. That is some newer things in .NET MAUI on the navigation. It may pass some of those things automatically. If not, that's a great, good feature request.
Yeah.
I think on any time, like, hey, what if it did this? That's a good feature request. Put it in. The team loves that stuff. Boom.
All right. So let's do a little knowledge check before we jump into the demo.
Knowledge check.
All right. So we spent a lot of time talking on this one. So here we go. How would you send data to a page when using route-based navigation?
Do you pass data into the constructor of the target page? Do you instantiate the page, then set page level properties? Interesting. Or do you use a query string syntax? A key value pair can be sent. You can vote out or poll at ak.ms/polls. Yeah. Yeah. Do you know how the polls was built? I don't know. I think Laurent built that, right?
I think he might have. Yeah.
Someone was asking earlier.
I think there's probably a little SignalR in there.
I think it's SignalR and Blazor, I think, right? It's Blazor WebAssembly. Yeah.
That'd be my guess.
It's pretty good.
Which is interesting, because I'm going to get into a little SignalR and Blazor, but actually Blazor on the server side with Azure Functions in my talk at .NET Conf next Tuesday.
Oh my gosh. It is Blazor WASM.
All right. So anyways, let's talk through this. All right. So we're talking with route-based navigation here.
C. We'll do C. It's C.
All right. We're not even going to bother with it. Boom. Good.
We just told it. We did it.
We just did this. All right. So let's do this. What we do, we're going to use some tab pages with navigation. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to open the solution. We're going to add a route to the details page. So we're going to have a root page, Earth, Moon, Sun, Jupiter, Mars, and we're going to display detail pages based off of it. We're going to navigate to it. Our detail page is going to be one page. It's going to be able to display any of those values, though. All right.
I love it.
Do it. All right. So because we're adding pages to it, and I don't want to have to do a bunch of typing, we do have exercise 3 in the whole repo. that you can just
Nice.
use it as a startup. Because now we have 2 new pages, astronomical
Nice.
bodies and astronomical body page. And if we open up App Shell, we see we have them here. We have them in a flyout, and we have a tab page here. The last one is called bodies, has a new icon called comment, and it's going to show the astronomical bodies page. Otherwise, everything is set up the same.
Yeah. Now, one thing that you noted inside of the PowerPoint is that each one of these items, the flyout item and the shell pieces of content, has a property called route on it. So, for example, if you wanted to navigate from the about page to the moon page or the astronomy page, you could do that by adding route on it. It's route. That's the name of it. 100%. About 99% sure. There's that. Now, you can do that dynamically, or you can do that obviously here inside of this, and you would have these, and those are unique routes. Now, whenever you add a page, we didn't have this in the slides actually, funnily enough, whenever you have a page that is not in the shell, right? You're going to navigate to it. It's not in a flyout item. It's not here. You need to register that route with the shell, and that's where we're going to do it inside of our code.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I didn't think I'd get that. Anyways, all right. So yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. You're on the next one?
Yeah, I have to go all the way back up.
You didn't get your points though. Oh, you're not signed in.
Yeah, I'm not signed in.
I see.
All right. I didn't get my points. Always be getting points.
You got to.
All right. So a little explanation of what we're going to be doing. Open the starter solution. We can see our 2 new pages, which we kind of just went through. And now what we're going to want to do is James was just talking about, we want to open up the app shell class and give it a new route by C# wise. So what we were just doing here, we were putting in routes based on the shell content, but I can open up app shell, put it in right there as well.
Yeah. Now, best practice actually is here. There's 2 things. One, the first thing is a string that says what specifically is the URL that you want to go to. Now, I, James, prefer, instead of doing a hard-coded string, doing a name of, and then having the route match the page specifically. So that is one thing that you could do. So for example, you could do name of astronomical body page, and then, for example, it would just be that string, and you could use name of everywhere, and that's a lot nicer, in my personal opinion, because now you're not hard-coding strings, and then if you rename the page, boom, you're totally good to go.
Yep.
Or some people like to do constants and have those defined somewhere else. But I don't like just strings hanging out in my routes, in my personal opinion. I just like to copy and paste the page names in general so I can find those all once, in my opinion. But you don't have to. It's up to you.
You know what? I like that. That's a very good best practice, and we should update the module to reflect that, I think.
The James best practice.
Yeah.
So, which, doesn't hold a lot of weight, to be honest.
I don't know. We'll get you a PNG file. We'll put, a little James ping.
Okay.
Have to be animated.
.NET 9 feature. Nice.
All right. All right. And so what we're going to do is we're going to open up the astronomical bodies page. So the page that actually has everything. So let's actually show what it looks like. And what it is, it's really just a bunch of buttons on a grid.
I love buttons.
So, Earth, moon, sun, comet. Look at that.
Wow.
Aren't those cool?
Those are cool.
Click on it. It's going to bring us to a different page. So we're going to put them all in here like so.
And then because I made you change the string, now you have to change all.
Yeah, now I have to go change it everywhere, but that's okay because I was going to have to go in here and edit anyways eventually to past data.
Yeah.
So let's do this to make them so we can actually see what we're doing. And then do name of, and it's astronomical body page.
Yeah.
So, and then we'll just replace it there.
Now, at this point, you're not passing any data. You're just going to say, go to this page. You're just going to
go to this page.
Yep. Yeah, and Shell's smart enough to add the back button for you wherever you're at. And it's getting added onto the stack in general. This is a little bit different because if you're coming from the web world, you're thinking, oh, I'm navigating to this URL. Like, it's not it's out of memory at that point, right? Because the browser tab is there. You got to remember, this is a stack of pages. How these different operating systems work is you have a stack of pages, and those are still going to be in memory there, right?
Yes.
So when you go back, it's not like the browser where you go back and it has to reload that page. It's going back to the URL stack. It's actually going back to the page stack that's there. So it doesn't have to reload that page. So remember that. I was actually talking to a web developer recently doing some Blazor hybrid work with .NET, and we're talking through that. So
yeah, it's a little bit of a mind bend. And James, I really do love doing this name of right here. It tells you exactly where you're going. You don't have to really do any mental gymnastics here.
That's true.
It's a great thing. All right. 2. So now we want to actually start sending the data.
Yes. Now you're going to need to do some string interpolation.
Yep. So we're going to do astro name, comet, Earth, Moon, and Sun to it.
Wind, fire combined.
You know what? I was thinking that before as well. So as James said, we're going to do a little string interpolation to make sure I can match everything up. And I already forgot astro name equals comet, Earth, Moon. So then as parentheses, astro name equals comet.
Comet. Boom.
Like so.
And so now paste that thing.
Yeah, we get it like that.
Yeah, that's better. Boop. Yeah, see, now if you change the name of the page or do something else, refactor something, then it's just going to work in general. It's not magical hard-coded strings that you could typo.
Nope.
Boom.
Well, we do have one kind of what we're doing right here, but generally speaking, that's going to come from, you won't be hard coding in your parameters that you're sending, and that'll actually come from the user. Yeah. Here, we're just happen to be hard coding.
Boom.
For the sake of a demo.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. So yeah, that's how it works. And it's actually, really nice. You're sending in astro name. And let's take a peek at then our astronomical body page. You know what we're going to have to do? We're going to have to add a property in to receive it.
Yeah.
I bet you that's our next step. And it sure is.
Nice.
So here we're going to actually create the property. It's going to call it astro name. And I'll just pop it up at the top here. And then it's going to, once that property gets set, it's just calling update the astro body UI, which finds the astronomical data that it wants and then puts it there. So
yeah, it's funny that we actually pass in the string because we've already set the string, so you don't actually need to pass in the string.
Oh yeah, we could just go grab it from the property. Yeah.
So funny. Yeah. Now, additionally, one thing people ask is like, when is this a set? So this is the reason a lot of times with like older navigation style where you create the page and you pass in objects and then do different work there. This is actually nice because what will happen is the page will be created, it'll be navigated to, and when it's navigated to, that's where the properties are created. So the page is already created, and then they're set on navigating to, and then it's there, right? So you could link into one of the page events to say, okay, I know that after I've been navigated to, then I want to update the UI as well. So is this a best practice here? If you only had one property and you're changing it this way, then maybe, but you might have some asynchronous operations in there. Maybe you're talking to a database or to a backend system.
Yeah.
So you could loop into on navigated to or on appearing property.
Yeah.
So just be aware.
Yep. And so here, this is the magic. We're saying on the class, not on the property, on the class, we're saying query property, name of astro name right down here. And then we have astro name there. So here's doing it the James best practice. Just call them all the same thing.
Yeah.
All right. And actually, I probably we could just do name of astro name for that as well. It doesn't matter. Here we go.
Yeah.
All right. We should be looped up and ready to go. Start it. Tab it. Yeah, let's do it.
I'm excited. I'm gonna see if it runs because it looks like your Android. Remember that Android pop-up you didn't want to.
Yeah, that was interesting, huh? Yeah.
I'm gonna see. I'm just gonna see if it compiles. I'm excited because I know that you weren't getting a lot of IntelliSense then. I think because of the Android stuff. I'll see it in the top left there. See, it's the drop down is Android, and probably you didn't accept the Android thing, so that's why. That's funny.
Here we are.
Nice.
All right. And then let's go to
bodies.
There we are.
Buttons.
Aren't they great?
They're beautiful.
Let's do Halley's Comet. Or is it Halley's Comet? Halley's? I don't know. But there it is. Tells
Whoa.
us everything we need to know about it. It's 4.6 billion years old.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. And up here, right up here, is the back button. Way up in the
Mm.
upper left-hand corner. But that's where it goes with WinUI 3 apps.
Yep. Nice.
And if we could expand that, we can see our About
flyout.
page too if we want, and that back
Boom.
button goes away. Go back to
Nice.
it, and we're in the same state as before, as James was mentioning, that apps, desktop, phone apps, tablet apps, they maintain their state, where web apps might not, although with all the new JavaScript frameworks, maybe they do now. But
Yeah.
anyways, by default, we have it. State's
Nice.
maintained, and we could go back. We
Boom.
can say Earth, almost as old as Halley's Comet. Who knew?
Yeah.
Who knew? The moon should be about the same age as the
Should be
Earth.
about the same, you'd think.
Yeah. And then the sun.
So, a little bit older.
Yep. There we go.
Nice. Boom.
Cool. There we go, James.
Hmm.
We had it. We built up an app. We're passing data around. I love this ability to pass the data around by using this GoToAsync.
Yeah, super simple. Someone asked, what's the life cycle of the query property? Well, the life cycle is when you navigate, that's when it's set. So it's there.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a query property. So it's set whenever it is navigated to. Just like in the browser, when you navigate, it's the same type of system that you have there. And again, you can pass complex data. So for example, if you didn't have those buttons, you're in a list of things, you already had the entire, object, you could pass that object in. But in this case, we didn't. So we're passing the identifier to look it up. Yeah.
Yep. And ideally, as you mentioned, James, either it would pass the entire object in the dictionary, or we had a list from that object that you bound to the list. You would have something that you would use as your lookup, or the whole object that you bound to the list. So,
boom.
All righty.
Cool.
Back to it. Summary. What did we just talk about?
Everything.
Well, we implemented tab navigation. We've navigated between pages, but very first thing we did was do flyout navigation.
Wow.
Yeah, everything. I love the navigating between pages with that URA base. That's the best thing. We saved it for last. And, I'm partial to the tab navigation. Flyout navigation, I could take it or leave it.
Yeah.
But, yeah. And that's just me. That's preference. It works great in Maui. That's just my UI design preference. I want to say that. It's nothing bad against Maui Shell. It's just me with flyouts.
Flyouts. It's whatever you want to use, whatever's best for your application.
Yep.
We did it. That was quick. We actually ended a little early. Amazing.
Yeah, we did.
Wow.
Yeah. We are straight and to the point. So, obviously, if you want to learn more, scan that QR code, head out to AKAMS Learn Live -20221102. It's a pretty cool date. A-summary.
Yeah.
Scan the QR code, go out there, or just go browse all the Microsoft Learn modules, and just when you get to the browse, just click .NET Maui. You'll see all 7 of them that we have, including a learn path that you can go through and take them in order if you so do wish.
Yeah.
And then James, again, .NET Conf coming up next week. Super excited about that.
Yep. Do it. We'll still be here next
That's right.
Wednesday during .NET Conf. So a special Learn Live .NET Conf event. It's not on the calendar, but we'll be here from 10 Pacific to 11:30 Pacific as well. But so if there's something you want to watch at .NET Conf, these are recorded, so you can watch it on demand. Or you can come join us if you're like, whatever, don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Let's actually see what's going on at .NET Conf. I'm going to look it up right now.
All right.
Conf.net. I'm going to see what session are we competing with, agenda. All right, so we're going to be competing with, what time are we at? 10?
10.
Ooh, .NET loves WebAssembly and .NET 7, building Blazor components and testing Blazor applications. So it's the Blazor section. So .NET Maui and Blazor together, Blazor hybrid. Wow, oh my gosh. So that's great. So if you're a web developer, you want to learn about Blazor, .NET Conf stuff, you want to continue your learning journey. What are we talking about next week?
I
Matt,
don't
what
know
am I
what we're
teaching?
talking about next week.
Is it on the slides? I think it is.
Let's see if we can next week. REST services. Well, this is a fun one because we get to bring in a little Azure into it.
I got to see if this thing still works. I'm going to test it
It
out.
should.
Should.
It should. I just ran it the other day,
Oh,
about a
good.
week ago.
Nice.
But
Awesome.
Azure changes so often, so I'll test it again today.
Yeah, so we're going to learn about consuming REST web services and .NET MAUI applications. This is a cool one because that's something that most applications are going to need to do. They're going to need to not only set up that, your navigation, your pages, theming, styling, but actually the last two sections are my favorite sections because there is the consuming RESTful web services, and then the last one, which will be on the 16th, is going to be about storing that data in a SQLite database, which is super important as well.
Mhm.
So that's super duper cool. So you can do that. And of course, you can check out not only all of our upcoming live streams, but other things happening on the .NET YouTube. So youtube.com/.net. Additionally, if you go to .net, which is the website, dot.net, there's a live button and that blinks when things are happening live. And we are there literally right now, by the way. So if you go to the .NET Live website, it's us, it's our faces on there, which is really cool. Tomorrow is a .NET community stand-up for .NET MAUI, so you definitely want to check that out. They're going to be talking about .NET Hot Reload and how to customize it. And then there's going to be a bunch of .NET Conf stuff, so you definitely want to check that out. And of course, the Student Zone stuff as well. John will be dropping all the links in the chat. The last thing that we've been doing is the last itch slide. Is there another slide? There it is.
Oh, there we go.
We have a continue the conversation, which is learn live, continue the conversation, where we actually hop on Microsoft Teams for about 20, 30 minutes, hang out. You can ask more detailed. We're going to have more impromptu chats as well. From there, so it's aka.ms/LLCTC. We'll drop a link in there. We join in, Matt and I, we chat it up for a little bit. So feel free to head over there, and we'll see you in a few minutes. And thanks everyone for hanging out. I really appreciate it. And I hope that you have the most amazing Wednesday of your entire life. Until next Wednesday. Thanks, Matt.
All right. Thank you, James.
All right. Bye-bye. There's keep smiling. There you go.